In this presentation, we will discuss how the California government recognized the need for a water plan, implementing the California State Water Plan and the Central Valley Project in the 1930s. These plans influence the storage, distribution, and value of water today. We will also discuss how the government workers and engineers together came up with the ideas on how to ensure that water in California was stored and distributed correctly, leaving California dependent on its water system. Since the construction of the LA Aqueduct in the early 1900s, California has long been known as a vibrant place to live with booming cities and vibrant agriculture. However, this perception of a vast amount of land with bountiful resources has quickly led California into many seasons of drought. A concern for water supply arose after World War II when people flocked to California for the good climate and available jobs. With an increase in population came increased demand for water. Even today, California's population grows. According to the current California State Water Plan of 2013, California is projected to grow 47 million people by 2020. Throughout history, Californians have valued water as a scarcity, as this area was originally an arid desert. When water demand rose in the 1940s, engineers like Edward Hyatt proposed plans such as the Central Valley Project and State Water Plan to bring water into California, especially in the South. The State Water Plan was made in order to distribute water to a growing population through reservoirs, aqueducts, and canals. It was the first statewide water resource development project in the U.S. and the largest single water development project in the world to be financed at that time. This project takes water from rivers in Northern California and distributes it to water-scarce areas in the southern part of the state. Today, the SWP is one of the largest publicly built and operated water power development and convenience systems in the world, providing drinking water for more than 23 million people and accounting for $400 billion to California's economy. A part of the SWP was the federal Central Valley Project. This plan supplied water to the San Joaquin Valley, mainly for farmlands, and to Contra Costa, Santa Clara, and Sacramento counties for urban use. The U.S. Bureau of Reclamation took over the construction of the project, and today it is California's largest water supplier. The CVP stores water through 500 miles of canals and aqueducts and includes 20 dams and reservoirs with storage capacity of 11 million acre-feet. Another way water is stored is in aquifers, which hold groundwater from rain and snow, accounting for 30% of statewide water use per year and up to 60% when the state is in drought. Today, California uses more groundwater than any other state and along the Central Coast, where up to 90% of drinking water comes from groundwater. Generally, water has many uses. Households, businesses, industries, and institutions use water for personal and industrial use, while farms use water for irrigation and livestock. Americans have become dependent on electricity for the use of appliances, lighting, and various other needs. Therefore, it's clear to see why water is so highly valued. The specific groups who influenced the development of the California Water Plan and distribution of water were the engineers, California legislators, and California residents. Hyatt, employed by the state, identified what resources and economics would be needed to implement the plan to transport water from northern to southern California. Together, the government and engineers passed the Central Valley Act in 1933. This act marked the beginning of a series of infrastructure projects that would control water supply throughout California. Unfortunately, there was an opposition to a statewide water plan. Some northern residents felt that the water was rightfully theirs, while southern residents were concerned that northern California regions would not hold their end of the bargain and send the agreed amounts of water to the south. The government heard their concerns and a compromise was settled. The Davis-Grusky Act guaranteed that there would be enough water for both the northern counties and future projects. The Byrne-Porter Act promised a water supply that wouldn't change in future legislations. It also promised money to pay for water delivery to the south. Charles T. Main Incorporated, an engineering company, and Dillon Read & Company, a finance company, were hired to approve of the project, but both groups foresaw future inflation which would prevent completion of the project. Because of this, costs were cut and the water project was scaled back. In 1960, legislation passed the State Water Plan and official construction of the country's largest water distribution system would begin. Despite the natural climate of the West, Californians decided to make the state habitable by creating various technologies and developing infrastructure projects like the SWP and CVP. But in order to sustain an ever-growing population, California set up a system where they had to rely on other areas to supply their water. As a consequence, California is now down to its last year of water supply. During the mid 1900s, engineers and government officials couldn't fully grasp the rate at which population and technology could grow. Because of this, they may not have implemented the best techniques to store and distribute water. Though there has been some progress since then, water use is still unmetered and not priced by volume in some agricultural and urban districts. In the 21st century economy, water has become increasingly scarce and increasingly valuable. In the 1970s, California considered desalination but did not take action until now. The state was worried about project expenses even though countries like Israel and Saudi Arabia utilize this technology today. Now, a desalination plant is being built in San Diego by a private company called Poseidon Water. If engineers had decided to invest in a project like this years ago, maybe California wouldn't be in the dire situation it is today. As population increased in the 1930s, growing concern for water induced the California State Water Plan and the CVP. The government and engineers like Edward Hyatt worked to pass the Central Valley Act and other legislations to proceed with the state water plan. The SWP and CVP allowed for aqueducts, canals, reservoirs, and groundwater plants to store and distribute water. Water is highly valued because 20th century American culture depends on irrigation technology and hydroelectricity. Past dependence on outsourcing water prevented California from solving their water problem earlier with new, advanced technologies like desalination plants.